Hey everybody, Marc Sadowski here with Tiny Shutter. There is one question that I have been asked time and time again on this channel and on the podcast feed. And that is this: can the iPhone take a long exposure RAW photo? And the answer is simple. Yes. Yes, it can. Okay, there is a catch to it. The manual camera apps that you can use on your iPhone, like Camera Plus 2 and Halide, all have the same ability to photograph in RAW format. They allow you to adjust the shutter speed, the ISO, but there's a limit, and all of them, no matter what camera app you're using, is limited to a 1 second exposure. And that is a hard stop that Apple has put on their camera app. And they never officially gave a reason why, but we could speculate, right? Now, I'm not one to really be a speculator. I don't know how the app actually is doing the exposure. I know the basics of the camera, but there's a lot going on inside the iPhone. And the person that I brought in to help explain this is Ben Sandofsky. He is one of the developers of the Halide app and Spectre app, and what better person to come in and talk about the nitty-gritty details of the iPhone than the man who developed the apps himself. So let's take a listen. Slow shutter photography on the iPhone. Why is there no RAW option for the iPhone?
Sure, that's a great question. And so there's a technical reason and there's the product reasoning behind how we'd explore it. So the technical reason is that the iPhone hardware is capped at the native RAW exposure duration at 1 second on the latest devices. Some of the older devices are at like half a second or less. I think some old devices are like only 1/3 of a second. And that's for an actual native capture. So when you use the API, you say, I want an exposure of this duration, fire it off. And honestly, the reason that Apple does this, it's not some kind of conspiracy to make you buy, like the next iPhone will be 2 seconds. No, there are actual thermal reasons behind these devices. So anyone who's done astral photography probably knows, like if you're doing like a 2-minute exposure, I've heard of people doing like liquid cooling and like crazy cooling rigs, because the longer that you have the sensor active, voltage going through it, the warmer it's going to get, right? And the warmer it gets, the more presumably Apple's done the numbers and knows the wear and tear on the hardware. I wouldn't be surprised if the one thermal consideration is the fact that these modern devices are effectively waterproof. So if you can't get any liquid in, I don't know how heat would find a way of making its way out, right? But at the end of the day, it's thermal. I don't work at Apple, so I can't answer for sure all of the consideration. But it's our understanding, like, there's no reason Apple would ever Apple would never go and say, oh yeah, let the Android phones do something we can't, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they had debates internally of like, yeah, but the other ones can do this. So it ultimately boils down to wear and tear on the hardware and thermal reasons, right?
Thank you, Ben, for taking the time to speak with us. If you want to hear the whole interview, you can do so by heading over to the Tiny Shutter feed. You can find it on podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. You'll be able to hear the whole interview there. And again, thank you so much for explaining things in simple terms. But it was still fun, a lot of fun to geek out with him with other stuff. So give it a listen if you're interested in hearing more from Ben. So the iPhone is limited to 1 second. That's not a bad thing. you're still able to take some great photos. And I just wanted to share with you some of the photos that I took back in May of 2019. I've been planning to do this feature for a long time. Stuff got in the way, but here are just a few photos that I took in the White Mountains in the spring of May. I hope you enjoyed this. Go ahead, like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and thank you for watching.